Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Donation with Gift of Hope. I'm your host, Olivia Fox, and you are tuned in to another great episode where we're going to talk all things organ and tissue donation and everything that matters in our community. And you, the viewers, can call in and ask any questions that you might have of myself or my special guest by dialing 312-738-1060. Make sure you get those calls in before 6:55 because that's when our time gets cut off, and we want to make sure that we get to everyone's calls. Again, that number is 312-738-1060, and it's right at the bottom of your screen. So I know you all have been hearing the commercials, and we're like, talk donation. What type of donation? What are we talking about? Donation to charity, donation to education? What are we talking about? In actuality, it's a little bit of both. It is charity to our fellow man, woman, and child, as well as education about organ and tissue donation. Each week, special guests and I will talk about the importance of organ and tissue donation, and especially what minorities need to know about participating in the process. Ultimately, our sole purpose is to give you enough information to dispel long-standing myths and misconceptions that run very deeply through our communities, while also helping us understand that Gift of Hope is a very honorable and trusted partner in the community. We recognize that minorities have many fears of healthcare entities, and let's face it, many of them are well-founded. However, over the last 30 years, with advances in modern medicine, amazing transplant physicians, our hospitals, religious partners, community partners, Gift of Hope has helped turn tragedies to triumphs while supporting donor families, recipients, and those waiting for a life-saving or life-enhancing transplant. So I'm so excited about our guest tonight. We're going to have donation news right after our regularly scheduled program, and then we'll have our guest on. So let's get to our regularly scheduled commercial break.
Nikki's donations made a huge impact on a lot of people. This one right here, sitting next to me especially. When Gift of Hope came to me and asked me for the donation, it made me feel very confident knowing that I can give my baby's heart. This is Nikki's heart beating inside Tanisha's chest.
So when I heard this pounding, like, what is that noise? And the nurse said to me, that's your heart.
I carried Nikki for 9 months. Now Tanisha's gonna carry her the rest of her life.
Say yes to donation. Start the conversation with your loved ones today. Welcome back to Let's Talk Donation with Gift of Hope. So let's jump right into donation news, which is actually going to be a little teaser for our guest for this evening. It's a little part of her story because there are a lot of parts that make this story very, very interesting. So let's take a look at this video. It actually was a part of a campaign, actually a contest that we participated in over the summer. It's a video produced by Eric Almond, and it is about caregivers, and it was to outreach minority communities, but it was highlighting caregivers that have helped those who have gone through the donation transplantation process. So let's take a look at the video for donation news.
My name is Monica Fox, and I'm a very grateful kidney transplant recipient. When I opened my eyes and realized that my transplant surgery had actually been completed, then the first face I saw was my friend, my nurse, Rochelle.
The charge nurse informed me that your friend is here and the family requested that you take care of her. So I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be Monica's nurse. And I was a little nervous at first. So I went in her room and she was still on the ventilator because she's still recovering. And so I just ran in and started screaming and like woke her up. She was stunned.
And I knew she was a nurse, but what I didn't know was that she was a nurse at University of Illinois, Chicago, in the transplant ICU. It just was immediately a fun and happy time. And it was all because my friend was there. She was there to take care of me.
Say yes to donation. Start the conversation with your loved ones today. Welcome back, and welcome to our special guest for the evening, Miss Monica Fox. Welcome.
Thanks, Livy.
Hey, Olivia. Olivia.
Oh, Olivia.
So welcome. Monica Fox is a outreach coordinator for the National Kidney Foundation of Illinois. She is the director of the South Suburban chapter of the Gift of Hope Ambassadors. She is a part of the American Association for Kidney Patients. She's an advocate for them. She is a Gift of Hope Advisory Council member. She is a kidney recipient of 2 years coming up this month, actually in the next couple weeks. And if you couldn't tell by the way she addressed me as Livy instead of Olivia, my proper TV name, she's also my mom. Welcome, Monica. Welcome, Mom.
Thank you.
Thanks for
I'm so
joining
happy
us.
to be here. I'm so excited.
Yay, you are the one guest that has been on for every season of Let's Talk Donation with Gift of Hope. So if we have any normal viewers, welcome back to one of our favorites, right? Of course, she's my favorite because she's my mom. So I'm so excited to have her here to tell her testimony. She is a reason why I am here in this position, why I do what I do. So let's jump right into it, Mom.
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about where your journey with kidney disease began.
Okay, so my journey began actually exactly 5 years ago today.
Yep.
November 13th, 2013. I arrived at the hospital and was immediately whisked into the ICU where, because I had multiple organ failure. And I have always been a registered organ donor since I was 18. And they never stopped trying to save me. They worked as hard as they could to save my life. So I won't give all the details, but I'm going to explain this in the only way I know how as a Christian, because it was my faith that got me this far through everything that I've been through. So when the doctor said to my family that I might not make it for the next 24 hours, God said, I have plans for you. When they put me on dialysis and said, you will have to wait 5 to 7 years for a life-saving transplant, and 13 people die each day waiting for a transplant, God said, you shall live and not die. When my donor Milton was injured in a tragic accident, and the doctors told his family that his life here on earth was no longer viable, God said, I came so that you shall have life eternally. Now Milton has gone on to be in his father's mansion, and his family has the peace of knowing that his legacy lives on. His legacy on this earth lives on through me and 2 others who received the gift, a wonderful gift of life and a second chance. I'm so grateful for this wonderful gift that has allowed me a second chance at life. And I'm loving every minute of living my best life and helping others who have the desire to do the same.
Well, I can speak from seeing you every day that you are definitely living your best life through this gift, and I'm grateful that you're here, and I'm grateful to be able to see you do all these things. I mean, back when you were on dialysis, you weren't able to travel like you like to, you weren't able to work, and so after receiving this gift, I mean, I have basically seen your life restored, and it's so amazing, and it's a reason why I can go out into the community every day and speak so confidently about this, because you are a living testimony. Yes. So you actually addressed a common misconception that we often hear during our outreach in the communities, and that is that at the time of your illness, when you presented at the hospital with all these multiple organ failures, that the doctors did everything that they could to save you, despite the fact that you had always been a registered organ donor since you were 18. So can you talk a little bit about, what that is and how people feel about that in the community? Because we hear that all the time.
Yes, we hear it all the time. People think that if they register their intent to be a donor, that if something happens to them, they won't try to save them. And what I explain is that the people who are responsible for saving your life, that's their job. Mm-hmm. They go through a lot of training and education in order to do that. And they're not going to risk their licenses or any of that in order for a possible, what they wouldn't even have any idea of knowing would be possible, that could possibly be a donation. Mm-hmm. So that's just not the case. The life-saving team works to save your life. And when they get to the point that they've done all they can do, then another team comes in and talks to the family. Gift of Hope then comes in and talks about the possibility of organ donation.
Absolutely.
So it's a gift. I explained to them, it's a gift that you give to your family when you register your own intent. Because in the time of a tragedy, your family has a lot of things to think about. And whether or not you'd want to be an organ donor is one less decision they would have to make. So in the case of my donor's family knew his wishes.
Yes.
And in their tragic time, they stopped and took the time to figure out if they knew someone, if they were connected to anyone who needed a gift of a kidney or a liver. And they got to me. That's considered directed donation. So I always share with people that at the time that organ donation is possible, if your family is aware of your wishes, and furthermore, if you have registered your intent, the organ procurement organization can work with your family to do a directed donation. It does have to be a match, and that's part of my miracle, is that my donor was a perfect match for me. He and I were the same age. He had a universal blood type, so he could have saved a lot of people. But he saved me. And we had a lot in common. He had a daughter who's similar in age to Olivia, and she has become my daughter too. His mother is very kind and loving, and I make sure to connect with her on all holidays because she's always missing her son. And she tells me how much better it makes her feel to be able to talk to me, and we laugh, and she shares stories about Milton. And I ask her, did Milton have a sweet tooth? And she shares that he had quite a sweet tooth. And I think that's become my problem now.
Well, that's interesting. People do, I hear that people feel different characteristics and things like that from their donor. So,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know, something
His
special,
mother
special connection.
really believes that. And I'm having a hard time arguing with the sweet tooth thing.
Understood. Yes, you do love sweets. So you mentioned directed donation, and that also is something that really can give comfort to people that might feel uncomfortable about this process, or might feel that people like them are not fairly treated about this. Now, we know that that fact is not true. However, directed donation and knowing that you can give to someone in your community or someone in your family that you know that is in need should give people some comfort in knowing that they have a little bit more control and a little bit more autonomy in this process. Because again, it does come at the worst time in someone's life.
Yes.
And again, the question will be asked whether someone was registered or not.
Yes.
So that's an important factor. Remember that directed donation is an opportunity if you're aware of it. And so this journey was amazing, and it brought you through and to such an amazing space. You have a passion for mentoring others through this process. Can you talk a little bit about where that came from and how you've been able to do that?
Yes, sure. So immediately in the beginning of my journey, I realized I knew nothing about what I was going through. And so I had to use every resource available to me to become an expert. I became an expert at being a dialysis patient. And then when I got to transplant, that was another whole new world that I knew nothing about. And so I educated myself about that. And it just reminded me that there's so much that people are unaware of until it actually impacts them directly. And I know that many other people feel the same way that I felt when I was going through that. So it's been part of my mission to help to educate people, to empower them, to raise awareness about chronic kidney disease, about dialysis, and about transplant. And I've been so blessed to be connected with so many organizations, starting with Gift of Hope, and now with National Kidney Foundation of Illinois, and so many organizations in between, that some of which you named in my introduction. So it's just been a blessing, and I share my story a lot, not because, you know, not because I feel special, but because my story gives me hope. I call my kidney hope. I live with hope. And I had hope from the beginning. I believed that God had a kidney for me and it would be perfect. So I want to share with people that hope, that dialysis is not the end of the road. There is life after dialysis.
Absolutely,
That
absolutely.
transplant is possible for everyone who wants it. So I'm really excited today because one of my friends that I've mentored for the last year, he called me up a year ago and said he really wanted to get a transplant.
And that was really just a year, like
It
this
was
week
really
too, right?
a year ago this
There's
week.
something about this time.
Yes,
There's something
this
in the
time of
atmosphere
year.
about
I'm
this
so
time
thankful
us.
for Thanksgiving. So he reached out and said he wanted to get a transplant. He lived in Houston, Texas. He still lives in Houston, Texas. But he had been turned down at several different transplant centers, and I recommended him to come here to UIC. And I'm happy to say that he received his transplant yesterday through a living donor. And not only did he receive a transplant, but another man was lucky enough to receive a transplant through a paired donation because Chris's donor was a universal donor. And he was able to be a donor for the other gentleman, and the other gentleman's son was a match for Chris. So two heroes were created yesterday. The living donors are heroes. Stan Lee created a lot of heroes, superheroes for Marvel. But living donors are superheroes walking this earth in real time.
Absolutely.
And two transplant warriors were born yesterday as well.
Absolutely.
And
And
I'm
that
just thrilled with that.
That I am too, and that really speaks to the fact of Gift of Hope's kind of slogan for right now is donation benefits every family.
Yes.
And that is really something that that story speaks to that, especially, I mean, even if you look at the people that participated in that process.
Yes.
I mean, it's a beautiful array of people that really represent our community.
Yes.
And it represents the love in our communities,
Yes,
and
it
what
is
people
the
will
picture
do
of
for
love.
one another, and what people will do for their brother and for their sister, and you know how selfless people can be. So that statement of donation benefits every family really rings true with that situation as well.
Yes.
And so you talked a little bit about your work at the National Kidney Foundation.
Yes.
Can you tell us about what you focus on in your role? Because I always say that God moved us around, well, we both always say that God moved us around through this whole journey like chess pieces. You know, you never said, why me? You said, what is he bringing me through this for? Now I'm in my role at Gift of Hope where I get to educate the community every day. And now you did that with me for so long. And now you're in your own role at the National Kidney Foundation.
Yes.
So tell us what you're able to focus on in doing that. Because
Okay.
it's a little separate from what your passion is, but actually not really separate.
No, it actually all rolls together.
Yeah.
So one of my primary responsibilities is to do outreach to professionals, and so that allows me to help to develop partnerships amongst transplant surgeons, nephrologists, you know, all kind of renal professionals, as well as community partnerships with other organizations and businesses within the community that are interested in the health of our community.
Absolutely.
So that's something that I'm really focusing on, that I'm interested in really helping to create those partnerships so that we can together raise more awareness about kidney disease in the African American community and Hispanic community. It's very prevalent. As
We actually call it a
minorities,
deadly disparity, right? That's
it's a
what we
deadly
always say.
disparity, and it's a silent killer. And minorities are 4 times more likely than anyone else to suffer from chronic kidney disease. And it's because of the high prevalences of high blood pressure, uncontrolled high blood pressure, and diabetes in those communities. So I'm happy to be able to participate in the process of helping to build networks that will help to raise awareness, help to further our mission to prevent and empower people who are living with chronic kidney disease on dialysis and living with transplant.
Absolutely. And I am actually so excited because you talked about some of the partnerships that you guys have, but Gift of Hope is excited to partner with NKFI and
Absolutely.
also the South Suburban chapter of the Links Incorporated to put on some really, really cool programming coming up. So stay on the lookout for that
Yes.
programming in 2019 because there will be some really, really cool things happening. So next week, I actually just want to tease our show for next week. We're speaking of the Kidney Foundation of Illinois because next week we will be featuring Megan Craig, who is the program director over at the NKFI. And she is also a living donor. So she'll talk about her journey as a living donor. Monica mentioned Chris's story and the swap that happened and that life-saving donation. So while Gift of Hope deals with deceased donation, living donation is a really, really important part of this topic and a really important way to participate in this process. And so Megan's going to talk about that with us next week and also some of the other resources that NKFI offers because there are a lot of awesome things that they offer to the community.
Yes.
And with so many people suffering from illnesses and things like diabetes, high blood pressure, all those things, there are these resources in the community that people don't even know are available for adults and kids too. And there are also some fun programs because I've been to some of them before with good food.
Yeah.
So make sure you guys stay on the lookout for our show next week and then also for our programming, our partnered programming coming up in 2019. And so finally, we only have a couple minutes left here. And you talked about how you mentor people, so I would love for you to leave us with just a little gem that you would tell to someone that's currently waiting on a list, whether it be the kidney transplant list or anybody really that's struggling with an illness that, is life or death. You know, what is something that you would share with someone?
So the thing I always say is never give up hope, because hope is hope. Your hope and your faith will carry you far, and also always advocate for yourself. It's important to advocate for yourself, educate yourself, and understand the process that you're going through, and just be fully invested in the process. That whatever you're going through and stay ready.
And reach out for help too.
Reach out for help and stay ready. Whatever it is that you have to do your part. Get whatever community resources that you have and stay ready.
Absolutely. And it looks like we got one caller that we can sneak in before the end of the show. Go ahead and put the caller through. Hey caller, what's your name and what's your question or comment?
Hello, ladies. How are you?
Hello.
This is Nikki.
Hey, Nikki. Nikki is one of our ambassadors for Gift of Hope. What's going on, Miss Nikki?
Hey, guys. Hey, guys.
What's going on? Tell us a little bit about what you've done with Gift of Hope.
Oh, goodness. I've been an ambassador since, 2014?
Absolutely.
And it's my life's work to work with, with you guys and Gift of Hope and, our mission and what we do. It's a blessing. It's my purpose. It's my cross to bear. It's our cross to bear. And I'm just so happy to be in the know and to be connected with you guys and to see full throttle how much God has blessed us all, and especially you guys, because you prayed for us for so long, and we see the benefits of all he has done for all of us. It's a wonderful time of the year, and I love you guys so much. You're ladies look gorgeous.
Thank you, and we
Nikki.
love you too,
Love
Nikki.
you.
And we are so blessed to have Nikki working with us. She is a heart transplant recipient, and she is out there in the community, boots on the ground with us, telling her story and making a difference in our community. I know just last week she was out on the south side of Chicago at a health fair, telling everybody her story and about the life-saving and life-enhancing benefits of organ and tissue donation. So thank you to the work that you do, Nikki, and to the work that all of the Gift of Hope ambassadors and that they do with you and do with all of us. We're so grateful because we wouldn't be able to do it without them. So this was an awesome episode. Thank you, Mom, for joining us.
Thanks, Olivia.
We always have a great conversation.
Yes.
And join us next week for more conversation about kidney disease and with the National Kidney Foundation of Illinois Program Director Megan Craig. And we'll see you at 6:30 next Tuesday. Have a good week, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.